So this is a little game dev video on the magnet beam that I've been working on slowly but surely, and I think I've actually pretty much finished it today. I'm just not going to be able to get the projects done and the main video out, so I'm going to see if I can try and get it done during the week, so it's before the weekend, but I can't make any promises. So we're going to take a look at the magnet beam in action. So we're just going to start this up. And the thing about the magnet beam is it's really kind of complicated in a lot of ways, because as the beam comes out, it flickers, right? So it's actually one part that's broken into many segments, and it's just that segment just keeps expanding, expanding, expanding as you hold the fire key down. And then there's where it flickers is it alternates between which segments are active. So in the original game, the longer you hold it out, it's only one segment that basically fills the entire, I guess you could call it line, fills the entire line, and it'll go out and then it'll just keep going. Well, the timing in the original game, I guess, is fine for that. Well, when you're trying to do it with this, and I don't really know how long the segment actually ends up becoming at the end in the original game, because it's kind of hard to figure out. So I made it 30 long, 30 segments long in mine. But when it starts getting longer, the animation starts dragging, and if you increase the speed, it just looks like a hot mess. So I was thinking, all right, so there's got to be a way around that. So what I ended up doing was I was watching how Mega Man Maker does it, and I kind of copied how they do it. And so let me just move this out of the way real quick, actually. So I ended up doing was I created a sprite sheet for all the segment places. So starting from the bottom left, this is the first segment, and then the second segment, third, etc. And so what it'll do is, the further it goes out, once it goes out to a certain point, it'll skip 2 spots and then draw another segment, skip 2, draw another segment. So if it gets down here to the 4th one, then it'll be 4 on the 4th one and then 1 at the first slot, and it's hard to explain. But then you kind of rotate an animation through those, and it doesn't look half bad, because then it doesn't have those gaps, and it's trying to catch up with the speed of the one segment making its way around, and it actually ends up kind of working out. The other idea I had was, okay, well, maybe if I just have like a parent game object and a bunch of segments in there, but then I'm going to have to keep track of which segments are toggled on or visible and not visible, and I just felt that was way more of a pain in the butt to have to deal with something like that. So what I ended up doing was I just made a big sprite sheet that basically that's 30 segments long, and then I have animations for each segment length. So if I actually go and look at the segment, well, actually, let's just bring this over and just see it in action real quick. So let's kill this guy. Let's go get the magnet beam. Sorry, so I have the magnet beam. I'm just going to kill this real quick. Okay, so if we switch to that magnet beam, if I tap it, there's my magnet beam. As I hold my key down, it gets longer and longer. And if I pause it here, and I'm just going to step through it, you can see the animation. And if you actually look over here, this is as long as it gets. So this is actually the 30 long. So to be way here at the end, skip 2 segment, skip 2 segment, skip 2 segment, and if we step through it, it looks like it's almost like a little bit of a conveyor belt, because it'll just move, it'll shift off, and then move forward, and then once it gets to the certain point, then it'll tack one on the end. So you can see it kind of moves, and if I unpause it, you see it looks a cool effect. So take a look at the code real quick. It's really simple, actually. The other part, before we get to the code, actually, if I do this, I can walk through it, but if I jump on it, I can land on it. See, that's the thing about the magnet beam. So it's technically not solid until I get on it. So I can walk on it. but I like to walk over it. So it doesn't become solid until I'm actually above it. So now I'll go look at the code. So it's real short. I'm not going to get into too many details, but we calculate how long the beam has been running for, and then it'll basically determine how many segments we want it to be long. And the segment is basically the animation name. It'll basically say magnet beam, and then however many segments. So I have each animation will be like magnet beam 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. And then down here we check to see, and this is if it isn't locked. Locked being I let go of fire, and then it's basically locked on the screen. Because otherwise it's a parent, or it's a child of my player of the bullet shoot position. So it always follows where the shoot position is. So if I hold it, I can jump around with it. I'm still holding on the C key, but as soon as I let go, then it gets locked. And now it's too high, I can't get on it. But there, then I can get on it. So what I also do is I check my velocity. I only want to basically lock it once I know I'm coming down. If I go up and above, there's this little flicker of showing like my feet have touched it, even though technically I shouldn't be. So it's like a flicker. So what this does is if my velocity is negative, which means I'm coming down and I'm still above it, then it'll make it solid. So that's a little bit of a fix around that. And then I got some layers involved. So this will not affect the enemies do not collide with the magnet beam. They can't use it. Only the player can. And then I have some other stuff like the segments and stuff, and my lock beam. And if it collides with the ground, then it locks also. So if I touch we'll just say like a tile or something like that, then it would lock the beam in place like the original game. The only thing I'm not going to copy into this, like the original game, is when you're on the magnet beam and you happen to walk off of it, you actually fall faster than normal gravity. I'm not going to do that. So there's ways you could do that. I mean, if you're like, check and see if you're on the beam, you can have some sort of flag, and then if you walk off of it, then it'll basically apply a faster velocity going down. So you could do that. And if you happen to be jumping when you're on the beam, then you can clear that flag. And if you happen to land on it again, then you re-enable the flag. So I'm not going to worry about any of that. So if you want to take a stab at doing that to make it 100% like the original magnet beam, then you can do that. But I'm not going to. So I'm going to work on probably putting the final project together and getting this all finished so that we can, so I can have this ready for the next actual mainstream video on the magnet beam. So I just wanted to give you a preview of the magnet beam in action, how it is now. And so once I have that project and ready to do the video, I'll go and post it on Twitter. So hope you enjoyed the little video. I'll see you in the mainstream next one. Bye.